The spaceship moved slowly through the darkness. It was called the Eternal Spring, and it belonged to Earth. The ship was searching for survivors. Lieutenant stood near the big window and looked outside. She was a young woman with kind eyes and short black hair. She worked as a medical officer. Her job was to help people who were hurt or sick. But today there was no one to help, only death. Outside the window she could see pieces of a broken planet floating in space. Rocks as big as mountains drifted past the ship. Some of them were still burning. 3 days ago, this had been a beautiful world called Riven. 3 billion people had lived there. They were peaceful creatures who loved music and art. They had never hurt anyone. Then the Dominion came. The Dominion was an empire of cruel aliens who believed they were better than everyone else. They feared the Riven people because the Riven had special powers. They could feel the emotions of others. They could speak without using words. The Dominion called this dangerous, so they destroyed the entire planet. Felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She had to be strong. Lieutenant, called a voice from behind her. It was Ensign. He was a young man who worked with the scanning machines. His face looked excited. I found something. There is a life sign. Turned quickly. Where? Sector 7. Inside a broken building. It looks like a temple. Captain walked over to them. He was an older man with hair and a serious face. He had been a soldier for 30 years. He had seen many terrible things, but even he looked sad today. Are you sure? The captain asked. Yes, sir. The signal is weak, but it is there. Something is alive down there. The captain looked at, take a rescue team, go now, be careful. Nodded and ran to get her team ready. 20 minutes later, a small shuttle left the Eternal Spring. Sat inside with 4 other crew members. They wore protective suits because the air on the broken planet was not safe to breathe. The shuttle landed near a pile of white stones. Once this had been a beautiful temple. The Riven people had come here to pray and meditate. Now it was only ruins. The walls had fallen. The roof was gone. Bodies lay everywhere. Tried not to look at the bodies as she walked. The dead Riven looked almost like humans, but they had soft fur and 6 arms instead of 2. Their eyes were very large and dark. In life, those eyes must have been beautiful. Now they stared at nothing. The life sign is coming from under those rocks, said one of her team members. They began to move the stones carefully. It took a long time. Arms became tired, but she did not stop. If someone was alive under there, she had to save them. Finally, she moved a large piece of marble and saw something that made her heart stop. It was a small creature, a baby Riven, no bigger than a human child of 2 years old. It had soft fur like the adults, but it looked more like a baby animal than a person. Its 6 small arms were wrapped around itself. Its large, dark eyes were open, but they looked empty, like it had seen too much. Around the baby could see the bodies of several adult Riven. They were all female, priestesses maybe. They had used their own bodies to protect the child from the falling stones. "Oh no," whispered. The baby did not move. It did not make any sound. It just stared at her with those huge dark eyes. Knew she should keep her helmet on. The rules said so. The air might make her sick, but she did not care about the rules right now. She took off her helmet and set it on the ground. "Hello, little one," she said softly. I am here to help you." The baby still did not move. Reached down very slowly and picked up the small creature. It weighed almost nothing. Its fur was soft and warm. She could feel its heart beating very fast. "You are safe now," she said. "I have got you." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the baby made a sound. It was the saddest sound had ever heard. It was like the sound of wind blowing through broken glass. It was a cry of pain so deep that felt it in her own heart. The baby was crying for its dead family, for its destroyed world, for everything it had lost. Held the small creature close to her chest. She did not know what to say. What words could help someone who had lost everything, so she said nothing. She just held the baby and let it cry. After a long time, the crying stopped. The baby looked up its face. Very slowly, it lifted one tiny paw and touched her cheek. Felt something strange in that moment. A warmth spread through her mind. It was like the baby was looking into her soul, and somehow, even though no words were spoken, she understood what the baby was saying. It was saying thank you. It was saying please do not leave me. It was saying I am so scared and so alone. I will not leave you, promised. I will take care of you, I promise. The baby closed its eyes and pressed its small body against her chest. In seconds, it was asleep. Stood up carefully. Her team was watching her with wide eyes. None of them had ever seen anything like this before. Let us go back to the ship, said quietly. We have a survivor. They returned to the shuttle and flew back to the eternal spring. The whole way held the sleeping baby in her arms. She could feel its tiny heartbeat against her chest. So small, so fragile, the last child of a dead world. When they reached the ship, Captain was waiting for them. He looked at the baby in his arms and his serious face became soft. Is that the survivor? He asked. Yes, Captain, a child, maybe the only one left. The captain nodded slowly. Take it to the medical bay, take care of it. We will figure out what to do next. As carried the baby through the ship, crew members stopped to look. Word spread quickly. A riven child had been found, the last of its kind, and it was sleeping peacefully in the arms of a human woman. No one knew it yet, but this small creature would change everything. This tiny orphan, saved from the ruins of a dead world, would one day save them all. But that was still years away. For now, it was just a scared baby, holding onto the first person who had shown it kindness, and was just a woman who had made a promise. A promise she intended to keep. 3 weeks had passed since the rescue. The baby Riven had not left side for even 1 minute. At first, the doctors on the ship were worried. They did not know how to take care of an alien child. They did not know what it should eat. They did not know if it was healthy or sick. They did not know anything. Doctor was the ship's expert on alien life. She was a small woman with glasses and messy hair. She spent many hours studying the baby. She ran tests. She read old books about the Riven people. She tried everything she could think of. The child will not eat, she told Captain one morning. I have tried 20 different foods. It refuses all of them. The captain frowned. It will die if it does not eat. I know, but I do not know what to do. Was standing nearby, holding the baby as always. She had an idea. Let me try something. She took a bowl of soft fruit and sat down on the floor. She put the baby in her lap. Then she picked up a small piece of fruit and held it near the baby's mouth. Are you hungry, little one? She asked gently. This is food, it is good, you should try it. The baby looked at the fruit. Then it looked at. Then, very slowly, it opened its small mouth and ate the fruit from her hand. Everyone in the room stared in surprise. Smiled and gave the baby another piece, and another. Soon the bowl was empty and the baby had eaten everything. How did you do that? Doctor asked. Shook her head. I do not know, it just trusts me, I think. From that day on, the baby would only eat if gave it food. It would only sleep if held it. It followed her everywhere she went. When she left the room, it would cry until she came back. Doctor studied this behavior carefully. After many days of research, she finally understood what was happening. It is called imprinting, she explained to the crew. Young Riven children bond with one caretaker completely. Usually it is their mother, but this child has no mother anymore, so it has chosen instead. Chosen me? Asked. Yes, in its mind you are its family now, its parent, its whole world. If you leave it, it will die, not from sickness, from sadness. Looked down at the small creature sleeping in her arms. She felt a heavy weight in her heart. This was a big responsibility. This baby needed her completely. I will not leave it, she said quietly. I promise. She began to call the baby. It was a Korean word that meant spring. She chose this name because spring was a time of new beginnings, and this small creature deserved a new beginning after so much pain. But not everyone was happy about the situation. News of the survivor had spread across the galaxy. Many alien governments wanted to take the child away from the humans. 1 month after the rescue, the Eternal Spring was called to a meeting at the Galactic Council. This was a group of ambassadors from many different planets. They made laws and settled arguments between species. Had to stand before all of them and explain why she should keep. The council meeting room was huge and round. Hundreds of aliens sat in seats that rose up like stairs. They all looked different. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some were made of living crystal. They all stared at the small human woman and the furred child in her arms. Ambassador spoke first. He was from a species called the Crystalline Collective. His body was made of glowing blue crystal, and his voice sounded like glass breaking. "The Riven child must be given to us," he said. "Humans do not understand Riven biology. You will hurt it. You will raise it wrong. Give it to species who have experience with telepathic beings." Felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "The child has bonded with me. Moving it to another caretaker could kill it." "Nonsense," said. "You have only had it for 1 month. The bond cannot be that strong." Doctor stepped forward. She had come to the council meeting to support. "I have studied Riven biology extensively," she said. "The imprinting process is very fast in their species. The bond between this child and Lieutenant is already complete. Separating them would cause severe psychological damage. The child might die within days." Many of the council members whispered to each other. Some looked worried, others looked doubtful. "You are just saying this because you want to keep the child," accused. "Humans always want what is not theirs." "That is not true," said, her voice rising. "I want what is best for this child. I want it to live and be healthy. That is all I care about." The argument continued for a long time. Different ambassadors gave their opinions. Some supported, no one could agree. Had been quiet through all of this. It sat in its arms and watched the arguing aliens with its large, dark eyes. It seemed to understand that these people were deciding its future. Then something happened that no one expected. Moved, it climbed down from its arms and walked across the floor to the center of the room. Its small legs were unsteady, but it did not fall. It stopped in front of Ambassador and looked up at him. Everyone in the room became silent. Opened its small mouth, and for the first time since the rescue it spoke. But it did not speak with its voice. It spoke with its mind. A wave of thoughts and feelings flowed out of the small creature and washed over every person in the room. It was not just words. It was pure emotion, pure truth. Every being in the council felt what felt. They felt the terror of the attack on its world. They felt the grief of losing everyone it loved. They felt the coldness of lying alone under the stones, waiting to die. And then they felt warmth. They felt safety. They felt arms holding them close. They felt a gentle voice saying, "I have got you." They felt what meant to this child. When the wave of emotion ended, many of the council members were crying. Even, whose crystal body could not produce tears, was trembling. Looked at them all. Then it walked back to and climbed into her arms again. It pressed its face against her chest and closed its eyes. The message was clear. This human woman was its home now. Anyone who tried to separate them would be taking away the only thing that had saved its life. Captain stepped forward. His voice was strong and steady. "The child has made its choice. The Eternal Spring will continue its mission, and the child will stay with Lieutenant. If the Council tries to take it by force, they will have to explain to the entire galaxy why they killed the last child of the Riven people." No one argued. No one said anything at all. The council voted, would stay with. As they left the meeting room, held close and whispered, "Thank you for trusting me, little one." In her mind, she heard a soft reply, just 2 words, the first words had ever spoken to her directly. "Mama's home." Felt tears roll down her cheeks, happy tears this time. She had come to this mission as a medical officer. She had expected to save lives and treat injuries. She had not expected to become a mother to the last child of a destroyed world. But life was full of surprises, and sometimes the biggest surprises brought the greatest gifts. 5 years passed like water flowing down a river, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always moving forward. Was no longer a tiny baby. It had grown to the size of a human child of 8 or 9 years. Its fur was thicker now, and its dark eyes were even more beautiful. It walked on 2 legs most of the time, though it still used all 6 arms when climbing or playing. The war between Earth and the Dominion had become quiet. Neither side was fighting actively, but neither side trusted the other. Human spaceships patrolled the borders between territories. Diplomats from many planets tried to negotiate peace. Everyone was tired of death, but no one knew how to stop it. Had been promoted. She was commander now, in charge of the First Contact Division on the Eternal Spring. Her job was to meet new alien species and establish friendly relationships. It was important work, and she was good at it. But her most important job was still being mother. Doctor had continued studying over the years. Her reports grew more and more amazed as time passed. "The child is remarkable," she told Captain during one of their meetings. "It learns faster than any being I have ever seen. Languages, mathematics, science, art. It absorbs everything like a sponge absorbs water." "Is that normal for Riven children?" the captain asked. "I do not know. There are no other Riven children to compare, but I suspect is special even by their standards." The captain nodded slowly. "What about its mental abilities, the telepathy?" Looked worried. "That is where things become complicated. Telepathic powers are growing very quickly, much faster than old Riven records suggested. I think the trauma of losing its world may have accelerated its development." "Is that dangerous?" "Potentially. Can now sense emotions from across the entire ship. It knows when someone is sad or angry or scared, even if they are many floors away. It feels everything." The captain was silent for a moment. "That must be difficult for a child." "Yes, but handles it well, better than any adult would," smiled slightly. "I think that is because of Commander. She has given a stable foundation, a safe place to grow." It was true. The bond between and had only grown stronger over the years. They shared quarters on the ship. They ate meals together. They talked for hours about everything and nothing, taught about Earth and human culture, shared memories of its lost world and people. But rarely spoke out loud. Its telepathic voice had become so powerful that even casual conversation could overwhelm nearby minds. So it learned to communicate in other ways. It wrote notes. It made drawings. It used gestures and expressions that learned to read perfectly. The crew of the Eternal Spring adored. They had watched it grow from a scared orphan into something beautiful and kind. Remembered everyone's names. It remembered their birthdays. It remembered the small details of their lives that they mentioned only once. Sometimes, crew members would find small drawings on their pillows, pictures of happy memories they had shared with, pictures of their families back on Earth, pictures that showed understood them and cared about them. Chief Engineer Minu was a grumpy old man who rarely smiled, but every week he found a drawing of his daughter who lived on Mars. Had never met the daughter, but it could see her in Minu's thoughts. The drawings were perfect. Minu kept every single one. Ensign was young and nervous and always worried about making mistakes. Left her drawings of beautiful sunsets with the words, "You are doing well," written underneath. Kept those drawings in her pocket and looked at them when she felt anxious. Even Captain, who always seemed so serious and stern, had received drawings from, pictures of his late wife, who had died 10 years ago. The captain kept these drawings in a locked box in his quarters. He never told anyone about them, but knew they made him happy. One evening and sat together in their quarters. The lights were dim. The stars moved slowly past the window. It was peaceful and quiet. "Mama," said softly in his mind. It only spoke freely when they were alone. "Yes, little one. I feel something bad coming." His heart grew cold. She had learned to trust feelings. The child could sense things that no one else could. "What do you feel?" Was quiet for a long moment. Its dark eyes stared at nothing, seeing something far away. "The Dominion is moving again. They are planning something terrible. There is a refugee colony in the system. Millions of people who escaped from the last war. The Dominion wants to destroy them." "Felt sick, are you sure?" "Yes, Mama. I can feel the Dominion commanders. They are afraid. They destroy things because they cannot control them. They hurt others because they are scared." "Can you feel anything else? Anything that might help us stop them?" His eyes closed. For a long time it said nothing. When it finally spoke, its mental voice was barely a whisper. "They are coming here first, Mama, to this ship. They know what I am. They remember what my people could do. They are afraid of what I might become. They want to destroy me before I grow any stronger." Pulled close and held it tight. She could feel the child trembling against her. "I will not let them hurt you," she promised. "I will protect you, no matter what." Looked up at her with those huge dark eyes. "I know, Mama, but maybe this time I need to protect you instead." Did not understand what meant, but she would learn soon. The Dominion was coming and everything was about to change. That night could not sleep. She lay awake, holding in her arms, listening to the quiet hum of the spaceship around them. She thought about the tiny baby she had found in the ruins 5 years ago. So small, so broken, so close to death. Now that baby was growing into something powerful, something the enemies of peace feared more than any weapon. But Tu was still just her child, her strange, beautiful, wonderful child, and she would fight the entire galaxy to keep it safe. The stars continued their slow dance outside the window. Somewhere in the darkness, the Dominion ships were gathering. War was coming again. But so was hope. A hope carried in the heart of one small creature who had survived the worst thing imaginable and chosen to love instead of hate. The galaxy did not know it yet, but was about to show them all what real power looked like. Not the power to destroy, but the power to heal. The attack came without any warning at all. One moment, the eternal spring was floating peacefully through space. The next moment, alarms were screaming and red lights were flashing everywhere. Crew members ran to their battle stations. Fear filled every corner of the ship. Commander was in the medical bay when it happened. She grabbed and ran to the bridge as fast as she could. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might break through her chest. When she reached the bridge, she saw the worst sight of her life. 12 Dominion warships surrounded them. They had appeared from hyperspace all at once, like ghosts materializing from thin air. Each ship was 3 times the size of the eternal spring. Each ship was covered with weapons. Each ship was ready to kill. Captain stood in the center of the bridge. His face was calm but could see fear in his eyes. Everyone was afraid. There was no way to fight 12 warships. There was no way to escape. They were completely trapped. The main flickered. A face appeared. It was the Dominion Admiral. He had dark green scales and cold yellow eyes. His mouth was full of sharp teeth. He looked like he was already celebrating his victory. "Humans," the Admiral said. His voice was rough and ugly. "You have something that belongs to us. Give us the riven creature and we will let you live. Refuse and you will all die." Captain stepped forward. "The child is under our protection. We will not give it to you." The Admiral laughed. It was a terrible sound, like metal scraping against stone. "You do not understand what you are protecting, human. The Riven were monsters. They could change minds. They could make people believe things that were not true. They could destroy entire civilizations without firing a single weapon. The Riven were peaceful, said loudly. She could not stay silent anymore. They were scholars and healers. They never hurt anyone. Lies, the Admiral's eyes burned with hatred. We have ancient records. The Riven could remake reality itself. They were gods pretending to be simple people. We destroyed their world to protect the galaxy from their power. Was pressed against side. She could feel the child trembling, but when she looked down, she saw something unexpected in his eyes. Not fear, something else, something like determination. The child you are hiding will grow into a monster, the Admiral continued. Already its powers are developing faster than normal. In 10 years, it will be unstoppable. In 20 years, it will be a god. We cannot allow this. The creature must be destroyed. It is not a creature, said fiercely. It is a child, an innocent child who has done nothing wrong, and I will not let you hurt it. The Admiral smiled with all his teeth. Then you will die with it. Prepare to fire. They could see the weapons on all 12 ships beginning to glow. In seconds, the eternal spring would be destroyed. Everyone she loved would be dead. But then moved. The child stepped away from and walked to the center of the bridge. Its small body looked so fragile compared to the massive warships outside. But there was something different about now. Something powerful. Something ancient. Climbed onto the communications console. It looked at the buttons and switches carefully. Then it pressed the one that activated the ship-wide broadcast system. Every speaker on the Eternal Spring came alive with a soft crackling sound. Looked up at the Admiral's face on the. For a long moment they stared at each other, the destroyer of worlds and the last child of the destroyed. Then opened its mouth and spoke. Not with telepathy this time, with its real voice. The voice it had almost never used. It was thin and high and unmistakably the voice of a child. She must return. 3 words, only 3 words, but they were not ordinary words. They carried something else with them, a wave of telepathic power so vast and so powerful that it spread far beyond the ship. Every speaker on all 12 Dominion warships activated. Every communications relay in the entire sector carried the message. Every living being within range heard those 3 words and felt what came with them. Gasped as she felt the wave pass through her. It did not hurt. It felt warm and gentle, like being wrapped in a soft blanket, but she could sense that for the Dominion crew it was different. The Admiral screamed. His yellow eyes rolled back in his head. He collapsed and disappeared from view. All around the Dominion ships, crew members were falling. Thousands of them all at once, crumbling to the floor like puppets whose strings had been cut. Then silence, complete silence. Fell off the communications console, caught the child before it hit the floor, was breathing hard and its eyes could barely stay open. "What did you do?" whispered. She was amazed and terrified at the same time. His voice in her mind was exhausted, weaker than she had ever heard it. "I sent them home, Mama, back to their oldest memories, back to when they were Bobbies in their mother's arms, back to the only time when they were not afraid of anything. They will sleep now. They will dream of being loved." Looked at the Dominion ships were still there, but they were drifting aimlessly. All their weapons had powered down. All their lights were dim. The crews inside were unconscious. Thousands of enemy soldiers, defeated without a single shot being fired. "You did not kill them," realized. "No, Mama, I could have. I felt their minds. I could have broken them all, but that would make me what they think I am, a monster." His eyes closed. "I just want them to stop being afraid. Fear makes people do terrible things. Maybe when they wake up, they will remember what it felt like to be safe and loved. Maybe they will not want to hurt anyone anymore." Felt tears running down her face. Her child, this small and precious child, had been given the power to destroy its enemies completely, and instead it had chosen mercy. It had chosen love. "And the words?" asked. She must return. What does that mean? Was almost asleep now. Its voice in its mind was fading like a dream in the morning light. My mama, it can be healed, the land can be restored. Life can grow there again, but only if someone who loves it goes back, only if I return. His eyes closed completely. It was asleep, exhausted from using so much power. Held the child and looked out at the silent enemy ships. Around her, the crew of the Eternal Spring was staring in shock and wonder. No one knew what to say. No one had ever seen anything like this. Captain was the first to speak. His voice was rough with emotion. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what happened here. Tell them everything. He paused and looked at the sleeping child in his arms. And tell them we have a new mission. We are taking home. Nodded, she understood now. The 3 words had spoken were not just about defeating the enemy. They were a message, a promise, a hope. The Riven was calling its last child back, and when returned, something wonderful would happen. Did not know exactly what, but she knew she would be there to see it. Together, they would bring life back from death. Together, they would prove that love was stronger than fear. Together, they would heal a broken world. The journey to the Riven took 3 months. It was the longest 3 months of his life. News of what had done spread across the entire galaxy. Everyone was talking about the little Riven child who had stopped a Dominion attack with nothing but 3 words. Some people called a hero. Some called it a miracle. Some called it a monster. But no one could ignore it anymore. The Dominion Admiral had woken up 6 days after the attack. When he opened his eyes, he was not the same person. The hatred was gone from his face. The cruelty was missing from his voice. He remembered the dreams had given him. Dreams of being a small child again. Dreams of his mother holding him close. Dreams of feeling safe and loved for the first time in 50 years. He resigned from the Dominion military the same day. He went home to his family. He never picked up a weapon again. Other Dominion soldiers had similar experiences. Thousands of them woke up crying, remembering things they had forgotten long ago. Not all of them changed. Some went back to their old, hateful ways, but many did not. Many began to question why they were fighting. Many began to wonder if there was a better way to live. The war was not over, but something had shifted. The Dominion was weaker now. Its soldiers were uncertain. Its commanders were afraid, not of death, but of the small child who could reach into their minds and show them their own souls. Slept for 2 weeks after the attack. When it finally woke up, it was different, not weaker but quieter, more thoughtful. It spent hours staring out the window at the stars, thinking about things it would not share. "Are you all right?" asked one night. Looked at her with those huge dark eyes. "I felt all of them, Mama, all the Dominion soldiers. I felt their fear and their anger and their pain. They are not evil, they are just hurt. They have been hurt so many times that they learned to hurt others first." "That does not excuse what they did," said gently. "I know, but understanding helps. When you understand why people do bad things, it is easier to help them stop." Pulled her child close. "You have a good heart, the best heart I have ever known. I learned it from you, Mama." When the Eternal Spring finally reached the debris field of the Riven, they were not alone. Hundreds of ships had come from across the galaxy. Ships from Earth, ships from the Crystalline Collective, ships from dozens of other species and planets. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Among the ships were vessels carrying the Riven diaspora. These were Riven who had been off-world when the attack happened. Traders and diplomats and travelers who had survived only because they were far from home. There were only about 2,000 of them left in the entire galaxy. When they heard that the last child was returning, they came to witness it. And took a small shuttle down to the surface. Captain offered to send soldiers with them, but refused. "This is something we need to do alone," she said. The shuttle landed near the ruined temple where it had found 6 years ago. The stones were still scattered everywhere. The bodies were gone now, taken away for proper burial, but the destruction remained. The whole planet was still broken and dead. Stepped out of the shuttle and looked around. Its eyes were wet with tears. "I remember this place," it whispered. "The priestesses used to sing here every morning. Their voices were beautiful. I can still hear them sometimes in my dreams." Took's hand, "What do we do now?" Walked slowly toward the center of the ruined temple. Its feet left small prints in the dust. When it reached the place where a great crystal had once stood, it stopped. "When the Dominion attacked, the heart of our world was broken," said. "It is sleeping now, deep under the ground. But it is not dead. Nothing that was truly alive ever dies completely. It just waits for someone to wake it up." Knelt on the ground. It placed all 6 of its hands flat against the broken stone. Then it closed its eyes and began to do something had never seen before. It began to sing. The song was not made of words. It was made of pure feeling, pure love. It flowed out of like water from a spring. It spread across the dead ground and sank into the broken stones. It reached down into the depths of the planet looking for the sleeping heart. Felt the song in her own mind. But this time it did not just flow past her. It invited her in. She felt herself become part of something larger. She felt connected to the planet, to the hundreds of ships watching from space, to the entire galaxy. Everyone felt it. Every being within 1,000 light years felt the song of the last riven child calling its world back to life. And the world answered. Deep under the ground, something stirred. The heart of the riven woke up from its long sleep. It felt the love pouring down from above. It felt the child who had returned after losing everything. It felt the human woman who had saved that child with nothing but kindness. The ground began to shake. Was frightened at first, but opened its eyes and smiled at her. "Do not be afraid, Mama. Watch." The broken stones began to move. They floated into the air and assembled themselves back into walls and pillars and arches. The shattered crystal reformed, piece by piece, until it stood whole and beautiful in the center of the temple. Light began to glow from deep within it. All across the planet the same thing was happening. Mountains reformed, rivers began to flow, grass started growing from the dead soil. The very air became clean and fresh. Sang for 7 days. Stayed with her child the entire time. She held when it grew tired. She gave it water when its throat was dry. She never left its side, not even for a moment. On the 7th day, song finally ended. The child collapsed into his arms, exhausted but smiling. They looked around them. The temple was beautiful again. White marble columns rose toward a blue sky. Flowers grew between the stones. Birds sang in trees that had not existed a week ago. And beyond the temple, a living world spread out in all directions. Not exactly as it had been before, but alive, green and blue and full of hope. The riven diaspora began landing their ships. 2,000 survivors walking on there for the first time in 6 years. Many of them fell to their knees and cried. Many of them touched the ground just to make sure it was real. One old riven approached, and she had silver fur and kind eyes. "You have given us back our home," she said. "How can we ever thank you?" Looked up at the old woman. "By living, by being happy, by teaching others what my people knew. That love is stronger than hate. That healing is better than destruction. That even the most broken things can be made whole again." The old woman nodded slowly. Then she looked at. "And you, human, you saved our child. You raised it with love and kindness. You helped it become what it was meant to be." She bowed her head. "You are family now. You will always have a home here." Felt tears rolling down her face. She had started this journey as a medical officer looking for survivors. She had never imagined it would lead here, to a healed world, to a new family, to a love deeper than she had ever known. "Mama," said quietly, "will you stay when the others come back, when the children are born and the cities are built? Will you stay here with me?" Held her child close, the child she had found broken and dying in the ruins, the child who had grown into something wonderful, the child who had just healed an entire world with the power of love. "Where else would I go?" she said. "This is my home now too. You are my home." They sat together in the restored temple as the sun set over the living world. Around them, the Riven people were laughing and crying and celebrating. Above them, hundreds of ships watched in amazement. The galaxy would remember this day forever, the day when a broken world was healed, the day when enemies were turned into dreamers, the day when everyone learned the true power of kindness. But for End, it was something simpler. It was the day their family finally found its home. And in the years to come, when people asked how it all began, the answer was always the same. It began with a woman who found a dying child and said, "I have got you." It began with kindness. And kindness, in the end, was enough to heal a world.